Well, hello, welcome to the video. This one's going to upset a lot of people, and you know I hate upsetting people.
And that's just not true, is it, Ken?
Yes. Anyway, this is the 7 bands I really think I ought to like, but I just can't. Let's get into it and you'll see what I mean as we go along. And don't forget to watch till the end, because I think you'll find that the end bit is the most interesting. And, well, anyway, let's get on with it. And the first band is the Ramones. Now, I know that the Ramones are one of the archetypal American bands that all Americans, not all British people, but all Americans say they were the first punk band, or they are one of the first punk bands, and I don't necessarily agree or disagree. Now, the Ramones are fine, don't get me wrong. Ramones, I've seen them a couple of times, but to be honest with you, this thing about 2 minutes, blah, 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 after about 5 songs, which are pretty much all the same, I start to yawn, quite frankly. And it's like, to me, it's like the later thing, the dance craze, you know, people going and getting out their heads in a field in the 1990s and thinking, oh, this is fantastic, this is great. The music, I don't think was particularly great. The fact is they were out of their head. Some of their songs were punk classics, such as Sheen is a Punk Rocker and Blitzkrieg Bop, as long as you didn't listen to the words too closely, such as, now I want to sniff some glue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that's why the Ramones are on this list.
The Ramones, gabba gabba, wee gabba gabba, gay gabba 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 gabba.
At this point, can I just say, if you're not already subscribed, you really ought to. I would appreciate it if you did. Comment, share it with your friends, like, and let's get on with the music.
Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy?
And the next one is another one that's going to get me into big hot water with a different set of people, and that's Queen.
What are you doing? That's my button.
I genuinely think that Queen's performance at Live Aid was one of the greatest live performances of all time. But it was more theatre than it was music for me. They apparently spent a week in the Shaw Theatre in the Euston Road in London, rehearsing it down to every glance, every ad-lib, every strut, everything. The whole thing was totally choreographed, and it paid off because it was one of the most exciting. Well, as long as you disregard about 10 minutes in the middle, but you know, Radio Gaga is hardly the greatest song in the world, is it?
All we hear is Radio Gaga, Radio Goo, Radio Gaga.
And Bohemian Rhapsody, fantastic the first 300 times you hear it. Brian May never struck me as a particularly rock and roll guy. Freddie Mercury, yeah, sure, he was like very interesting guy. Those teeth and things, how he made it work for him. And that, don't get me wrong, they were a good band, a great band perhaps, but just not for me. And the same goes to the third band I'm going to talk about, which is the Beach Boys. Many years ago, when I was at school and I was working on a Saturday job in Woolworths, mainly to buy music, I'd bought a record player, a small mono record player from Dale's Music Shop in Tenby, and I would buy every week like an album to go along with it. And I think the first one I got, well, one of the first ones was All Things Must Pass, the triple album by George Harrison, and very shortly after was the Beach Boys. And I didn't get one of their recognised albums. I got, I think, something like the Golden Hour of the Beach Boys or something like that, which is a compilation of quite a lot of their hits. And I took it back and I was so excited. I played it immediately I got back, which didn't go down well because it was about midnight time I got back, and I was disappointed. And I've been disappointed with the Beach Boys ever since. Compared to all the other bands I was listening to at the time, the Beach Boys seemed so insipid. They were like a coffee with too much milk in it. And I was actually at one of their concerts. I think it was at Crystal Palace. God knows when this was, 1990s, I think, something like that. And basically, Brian Wilson was just like sitting at the organ as far as I could see, didn't sing, didn't do anything. And I thought this was some sort of, I don't know, Millie, a parable, I don't know what it was, but it was some kind of thing for me saying, this is perhaps why you don't like the Beach Boys. Don't ask me to explain that, I could not. And who's the next band then? Well, the next one is Frank Zappa and the Mothers, whether the Mothers of Invention or the Mothers of something else.
My friends tell me that I've been such a fool.
which is slightly embarrassing because for a very brief time, I did book a few dates for the band that are still going. Because I was working with Captain Beefheart's Magic Band, obviously he died many years ago, with John Drumbo French, and somebody within that circle asked me if I wanted to do, apparently the mothers, all the original people from the band, well not all of them, because there was quite a few and they changed around a lot like the Magic Band, and I booked them in a date in Brighton and a few more things, because it was like a last minute thing. I think they got let down and I helped them out. And I must admit, I did go along wanting to like it, because obviously if you're part of it, you tend to like it more than if you're not part of it. Because anyway, I saw them and it took me back to when I used to like things they did. Frank Zappa was obviously a genius, and the problem is he did too much stuff, I think. He was so prolific that inside all this stuff, there were gems of brilliance, and a lot of it was like, I think he was experimenting and stuff, and a lot of people think it's fantastic, it's great, it's the best thing ever. I don't think so. What was Frank Zappa? He was like jazz, he was rock, he was experimental, he was, I don't know, he was avant-garde, it was satire, it was interesting, it was amazing, it was exhausting. So that's why I never really got into Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention, or any of the other bands of that ilk, shall we say, apart from the Magic Band, which hold a special place in my heart, I ought to say. But they're not on this list, because the next one is on this list is The Doors. Now, you've got to like The Doors, haven't you? Well, you ought to. Well, I don't know. I thought they were I listened to everything they ever did more than once, and it always, it never really got me. I don't know. It was like Jim Morrison everyone said he's a genius, he was this, he was that. I don't see why. He was just a bit of a mixed up kid. And he died very early, very sadly, and it's a shame. And he was influenced by drugs, and maybe that gave him the spark that came across on stage. And many years later, I was involved with doing shows at the Roadhouse in Covent Garden, and we basically got some very big bands from the old days to come and play there, and for some reason that was like the optimum time to get acts like this. And we had Rufus and Carla Thomas, I remember, who were excellent, even though he was like really old. But one of them was Robby Krieger. Now, Robby Krieger was obviously the guitarist from The Doors, and he turned up with his new band, and they were obviously very underwhelmed about playing at a place the size of the Roadhouse, which held about 500 or 600. And when they got on stage, I don't know whether it's because it was like an early evening show or what it was, or it was the wrong place, but they did all the Doors hits, or all the Doors numbers that you'd expect, which obviously most of them were actually cover versions, and it was very underwhelming. And that's how I've always felt about the Doors. Sorry about that to anybody who thinks the Doors are the best band of all time. And a lot of people think the next band I'm going to talk about, the best band of all time. And that's the Smiths. The Smiths, again, everybody thinks were fantastic. To be honest with you, I always thought that Morrissey, very good turn of phrase and all that, but people I know who'd worked with them, who'd been to see them and stuff, had all these stories. I remember once I was at the Hop Farm Festival, one of Vince Power's festivals in Kent, and before Morrissey went on stage, did this after the Smiths, all the security staff were going around talking to the burger vans and all that, and they were like having sheets and things. And apparently what Morrissey had said was he wanted off the burger vans and everybody selling meat, because he was playing in the main arena, and there were obviously food outlets all around it, and he wanted all the meat ones covered up before he went on stage. Now, I'm a vegetarian myself, I've been a vegetarian for many years, but I don't expect people not to eat bacon if they really want to. I don't think it's a very good idea.
Meat is murder!
Smith songs, they were like musicalized speeches, in effect. Other people think they're fantastic, great. It's probably me, I'm probably the half-wit in this. But I never really liked their music. I obviously know that artistry was fantastic. You know, Johnny Marr, great guitarist. I think he's acknowledged as one of the top 50 greatest guitarists who's ever lived, which is a bit of a sweeping statement, I know. But that's the sort of thing people say on YouTube these days, isn't it? But the rest of the band, again, fantastic, blah, 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 but not for me. And who's the last band we're going to talk about? Well, you can probably guess if you've watched any of my videos in the past, and that's The Who.
we don't get fooled again.
People know that I'm not really a big fan of The Who, mainly because, I don't know, they started off as a mod band, and I'm sure that when the High Numbers, or whatever they were called back in the early 1960s, playing in Greenford and places like that, I suppose if I saw them then I'd probably have a different viewpoint. The Small Faces were a mod band, but I don't know, they seem to transcend it in a way, whereas The Who seem to be actually a part of it, and I'm not sure The Who would have existed if the mod movement hadn't. And obviously with Quadrophenia, they exploited that to the full. And Pete Townsend's full of great ideas, and he did some things even with people like John Otway, who I worked with, and he's a fantastic guy and all the rest of it, blah, blah, blah. I have a personal problem with Roger Daltry in a way, because I've heard him say things on television and on the media and things which I don't necessarily agree with, but even putting that aside, I think that he did the album with Wilko Johnson, and to me that's like Vic Reeves and Bob Mortimer did this thing called the Pub Singer, and to me the way Roger Daltrey sings now,
Surely you must see that.
he's going to be playing in Dreamland in Margate, which is about 4 miles from where I live, in a couple of months, and I'm definitely not going to go along to that. I just can't listen to him now, to be honest with you. Some of the old stuff, I don't know, Can't Get Fooled Again, heard it 1,000 times, but it's not. It's one of the great songs of the 1960s, I suppose, but I'm sorry, just not for me. Well, thank you for watching, and I hope you didn't get too insulted or too upset. Comment, let me know what you think. You have a say in this as well. It's not just me spouting on what it is a bit, I suppose. You're part of this as well. So let's, you know, if you're not already subscribed, subscribe. And the algorithm reckons you should be watching this next. And who am I to argue with the algorithm? Not me. Oh no. Bye.